Yo, what's up, YouTube? Uh, haven't made a video in quite a while, but felt like making one because finally have something on my mind. I feel like talking about. Been using Skate 3 as background. I've been playing it a little bit. Been able to get my EA account linked to the right thing, so it actually lets me log in and play with people online, which is sick. So that's that. But anyway, into the thing really want to talk about, which is more evident by the title, and that is just like what is this? What is life, man? What are we doing? Not to be overly heavy or anything, but I guess the rationale for that is was in I would say a small car accident, only because I didn't get injured or anything about 2 weeks ago now. And just in that way, I feel like this accident has affected me so heavily, to the fact that, injury wise, I'm perfectly okay, not injured at all, perfectly fine. But just the mental effect, the what ifs, all of the questions, and stuff is really been making me think. Been making me think about the place I am in my own life. It's been making me think about the people I care about in my life, which I'm sure you guys have all heard to some extent. And maybe when you hear things like this, the words are only surface deep, and that's something I want to talk about a bit more, with my sort of gaming commentaries and the things of that nature, because I feel like I have something to add when I can think about it, and that time is kind of now. I guess growing up Catholic was one way to think about things, but I never really latched on to the idea of, I guess there being a God or something of that sort. It all seems a bit more random to me. Not random in the sense that, there still can't be some higher order to things, but random in the sense that, like a lot of real common contentions that people make is, if there was a caring God, or whatever, why is there all this suffering? And, I know there's nuanced responses, and some people have to grow, some people have to do this, some people have to do that. At the end of the day, people have free will. So I know that's kind of how it gets explained away sometimes, but at its core, I mostly agree that, if that was a thing, how could somebody allow this to happen? So that's kind of my thought on that, and the reason I go the direction I do in this commentary, because I guess when I compare it to the only reasonable answer I can give myself with any sort of assurance is that, before you were born, it was just infinite nothingness, and presumably as you die, it's also infinite nothingness. I guess that concept of the infinite nothingness is something that unsettles me quite deeply. And it's kind of a recurring thought. It tends to come back quite often, and when I think about it at its core, I don't I don't really know how to cope, for lack of a better term. And I guess in that way, it's led me to think about life. I am an only child, so when I think about things and talk about things in this way, it kind of comes from that mindset. Both my parents are older, which is also something I hadn't given a great deal of thought about until, I guess, lately. I'm 28, and they are, in their 70s, early 70s, but still. So kind of thinking about things in that way, and the, I guess, glaring impermanence of life. This car crash is obviously, like I said, it was nothing major, though it did happen at a, decently fast speed. uh, it leads you to think about these things because it's not obviously the only time I've cheated death. I mean, not obviously. Sorry, you don't remember me like that. I didn't mean that, but essentially, I feel like a lot of us have all had near-death experiences, one way or the other. And why am I here? A lot of things, my own, I guess, unimportantness can only lead me to believe, the concept that, as you die or when you die, something, I guess at least prematurely, something happens that may spin up an alternate reality for you where you live. In a lot of ways, this is the only way I can reasonably think about this, but taking it a step further, when I think about it, it also gives me these thoughts of, and you could think about this the same way too, if you will, that, as and the only experience you have is that of your own. So, although there are, lots of people that look like you, talk like you, walk like you, whatever, not to say this is entirely a simulation, but, you don't know that you're not the only conscious person, I guess. And when you think about it that way, it can lead to lots of distrust, and other sorts of strange feelings towards your own kind. But the only type of feelings that really rationalize the world that you live in, because this sort of impermanence, who would create such an experience? I mean, like I said, it could all be random. It could be something of that nature, but I do believe there is something greater. The problem is I guess my views on what the greater might be has evolved with my naivety about the world slinking away. When I think about it in that way, it's not the happy, optimistic sort of end that a lot of people are striving for, but maybe to kind of flip things on their head, in the sense that maybe this, what we have right here, could be heaven compared to whatever might be so bad that waits for us after this. And it's really unfortunate when you think about it in that fashion, and think about all the people and all of the callous acts that go on day to day. It's just disappointing. From here, I don't really know the next step of logic in my thinking. It's really kind of at the end here that I get stuck in this loop, because I can't think of much optimistic or positive to spin it, other than, maybe creating a family for yourself or passing on your genes to a future generation. Maybe that's living onward forever. And maybe that's, the feeling that can lift this sense of impermanence. Myself, I guess, being of kind of that age where it's, time to grow up. I do feel as though maybe that is kind of where this is leading me. But even then, that's, the problem, I guess, of humans versus animals and whatnot, that we're able to understand our nature. And I guess when you can see through it still leaves me feeling a bit incomplete and unsatisfied with what we have here. On the optimistic side, because I don't want to end this on a bad note or anything of that sort, although the whole video has kind of been that way, sorry, is really, I'm looking for, a good takeaway. And I guess at this point, it's just, live every moment, not as if it's your last, because, you can't operate in that way, but really try to maximize and be deliberate about everything you do, and the things, in your life and the people that you care about. Be deliberate when interacting with them. because you know this whole thing is not guaranteed. Anyway, that's kind of my thought on that. I'd appreciate any comments or anything that kind of can make sense, give an alternate point of view, something like that. I'm not in danger of unaliving myself or anything else. So I really hope that's not any sort of idea that people are getting from this, but I just want to speak on something with a bit more importance, and I think our basic own humanity, what could be more important than that? I know basically the whole idea of life is to try to ignore that, but have a good day.